Your Help presents Stress-Free Living with Ray Samich and Mr. Stress-Free, Ratanjit S. Sandhi. This audio program is an unscripted and unrehearsed conversation between Ray and Ratanjit. It is shared with you in hope of adding value to your life. We encourage you to listen to this program in its entirety to receive the full impact of its message. Sit back, relax, open your heart, mind, and soul to this edition of Stress-Free Living.
This is Stress-Free Living. I'm Ray Samich. Thank you so much for being with us today. And I'd like to introduce everybody, although he needs no introduction. This gentleman not only has been my co-host for 30 years or so for this show, but he is so well known in our local and on a global basis in so many different communities. Ratanjit Sandhi. Ratanjit, how are you this fine day?
Wonderful, Ray. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you. Always better, as I say, always better when I see your face and have the chance to share some thoughts with us, with everybody, and hopefully alleviate some of the stress that I continue to see. You know, I think the show has helped people. I know a lot of people have told me that they enjoy it and they do feel better. But everywhere I go, and I was traveling again this week, stress is just still there. It's just so much a part of our world today. And it, you know, we know that it debilitates us. We know that it affects our minds and our bodies. And yet we just can't seem to eliminate or even reduce the amount of stress in our life. So hopefully our show can help a little bit with that today.
Well, let's try.
Let's try. So I was looking back at all of the different shows that we have done over these many, many years, and we've only done a handful on intelligence. That's a very, I don't know, it's a topic that we just haven't discussed too much. Maybe it's because I don't have much.
Because it requires intelligence, Ray. And we shy away from that.
So we're both afraid of it, right? Especially me, since we don't have a solid foundation to talk from. But I know that we have talked about the different types of intelligence, and which is always intriguing, and maybe we'll get into that a little bit today too. But it's an interesting title today, The Paradox of Intelligence, because I think overall we still think that intelligence is a good thing. It's a positive thing. It's, if you have intelligence, you will be more likely to succeed, more likely to have relationships, more likely to be able to engage in the world and be more productive in the world. And yet when you say the paradox of intelligence, maybe it isn't quite as important, or maybe it isn't quite as necessary, or even quite as good, as valuable. So what does it mean? What is the paradox of intelligence?
See, intelligence can be a liability, Ray, because if it gives you false confidence, it boosts your ego. And when we are parked in the ego mode, today's neuroscientists tell us that under the ego mode, when you are proud of your intelligence, when you are confident about your intelligence, then in that mode, your capability to understand, comprehend other, or empathize with others reduces tremendously. So your capability of communication decreases enormously, although you have tremendous intelligence. And that is why you see a lot of intelligent people, they, in their personal life, they are not very happy. They often don't have very good relationships. They are compromising all that because they judge people. They feel that they are better than them. And you are not able to communicate. Because ultimately, Ray, until you comprehend the truth about the environment, about others, you are not able to make the right decisions. And look at the corporations. A lot of CEOs are in that bracket. They erroneously many times consider that they are more intelligent because of the title. And many of them intimidate others. And as a consequence, their employees feel that they are not being heard. Most of the employees are not upset because, of course, money is one important issue. If you're not properly compensated, you can't meet the daily requirement. That is very painful. But there are highly paid individuals who are unhappy because of that. And then they also slowly migrate in the same bracket themselves. So this whole notion of having confidence, be confident about yourself, and we want to be intelligent. And as we have talked in many shows, we want to cover that human beings, the nature has never duplicated anything. Every living human being is a highly specialized individual. Each one of us are gifted with unique intelligence. We only call analytical capabilities as intelligence. We call IQ intelligence as intelligence. But there are so many other intelligences. There are musical intelligence, there are literary intelligence, there are people who can feel better about others' capabilities. So there are thousands of different kinds of intelligence.
So I definitely want to get into that again, because I think that is so intriguing, and it has helped me in so many conversations when I connect to people that way. So I definitely want to go there. But before we do, why do we value the IQ, what you just referred to as IQ intelligence? Why do we as a society think that IQ intelligence is so important? If you've just pointed out that it actually in some ways is harmful, because a lot of people who are IQ intelligent, either they don't have abilities to communicate properly, or maybe they are, maybe they do have such an ego that they don't want to communicate because they put themselves above others. Whatever the justification is, it's true that we all know highly IQ intelligent people that are not in a good social place in their lives, with not having many friends, maybe not having a significant other that they can connect with. So we see the negativity of it, but why do we still value that? Oh, she's so intelligent. Oh, he's the most intelligent person I've ever met. Why are we in amazement and basically so highly respectful of IQ intelligence?
Well, in this world, Ray, window decoration is the most important thing. How many trophies and medals, how many degrees you have. So IQ intelligence is in one of those categories. I have very high IQ. And it is known that some of these very high IQ intelligent people don't even succeed in life. Because
Right.
Success comes from collaboration. And this high IQ intelligence ends up segregation, bringing about segregation.
Mm-hmm.
Because they think I am different than you, I am better than you. And once you understand that everything is gifted to us, and until you become grateful for this IQ intelligence, it will remain a liability. Once you become grateful for that, then you begin to utilize that intelligence. Otherwise, you do not.
So anybody who is a regular listener or viewer of this, is aware that you talk about the real us, and what is real and what isn't. You'd put the intelligence, the IQ intelligence, into the category of not the real us. It is that's just a special kind of a gift or a talent that we are born with, to have some people that have a higher IQ, but it really is nothing more than window dressing in terms of who we really are.
Well, see, all these things about us, very unique things about us, we don't discover until challenges in life come to us. And then you begin to utilize some of the uniqueness present in you to solve these problems. And as a consequence, you begin to realize, gosh, I have this gift. I can do this. But then if it becomes a pride, if it becomes an ego, if it becomes a situation where you begin to consider you being better than others, it backfires, because then you begin to segregate. You begin to lose the most important quality which we have, is our capability to empathize, to connect with others. One of the most important things for success in life is that your capability of connecting with others, capability of inspiring others, capability of utilizing everyone. No one, regardless of what their IQ is, no one, regardless of what their education is capable of doing everything. You need help. You need team. You need a collaborative environment around you so that this can help overall success. And you have to share that success with your participants, your team, your society. Otherwise, you become segregated and you die alone. And a lot of these highly intelligent people end up being depressed, Ray.
Well, I think part of that is if their ego has directed them to think, oh, I am so special and I'm so gifted and I have so much ability because I am, and I'm talking theoretically, not talking about myself, but if somebody thinks I am so intelligent that I can dominate the world because I'm so much smarter than anybody else around me, so I'll outthink everybody, I will outmaneuver everybody, I'll outstrategize everybody, and I will be, greatly, grandly successful and famous and popular. And then if none of that happens, I think they are very easily depressed because they set very high expectations based on the abilities that they thought they had. But it sounds to me like if there are different types of intelligences, the ability to collaborate, is that also an intelligence? If I'm more prone to be able to get people to work together, is that a type of intelligence?
Well, it is, once you realize that you have limited, it doesn't matter your intelligence or your education, you have limits. You can only do certain things. And you need a team to work with you. And to build a team, you have to recognize them. You have to be able to listen to them. You have to be able to understand their feelings. So they have a desire to work with you, collaborate with you, bring the uniqueness they have, unique intelligence in them on the table, working with you. Otherwise, you are segregated. You can only force people up to a point. If you are employing people and you have given them jobs and give them high salary, and Now you're forcing them to do this and insulting them, and they are living in fear of losing that job. They may work up to a point, but eventually when the other opportunity are available to them, they will leave you. They will quit, even for a lower salary. Look at today, how many people are quitting their jobs, Ray?
Oh yeah, another record month. We've done shows on that. It's the latest month that they came out with was another record-breaking month in terms of the number of people that are quitting their jobs. And it's really interesting because many of them don't even know what they're going to do next.
Yeah.
They don't have another job lined up. They don't even have another idea of a career lined up. They're just unhappy where they're at, and they're quitting. That's all there is to it. And we had done something when we did those series of shows. We talked about a lot of them going back to colleges and learning again. But do you know that college enrollment is actually down right now?
Yes.
And many of like the community colleges that were booming when the economy was good are actually off by 30-40% enrollment.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I was astounded to hear that. So, part of me felt better when I said, well, okay, if you want to quit your job and learn another one, maybe that's a good thing. But they're not doing that either. They're quitting their jobs, but they don't know what they want to do in life. And that's, in terms of a society, maybe it'll have a good outcome, net result, but boy, it doesn't sound like a very good place to be right now when millions, literally millions of people are doing that every month.
Look at the human psyche. When a child is born, your mother and father. Now, mother has a psyche of nurturing your child under all circumstances. When something bad happens, mother still wants to favor the child. So that is one place a child has somebody who cares about that child. He feels or she feels that my mother really loves me.
Right.
And now it is known when you put your little ones in childcare and mother is working, their confidence level as compared to when mother is at home with the child growing up is lower. So the same thing when we go to workplace, if the workplace feels or make you feel that you are important, you are adding value, you make a difference to the team, that person has higher incentive to do better. So intelligence, if it is utilized in nurturing people, intelligent people, when they begin to realize that this is a gift to me, I have to be grateful for that. And there are better intelligence out there than what I have. And the collective intelligence of my team is always going to be higher than my single intelligence. Then everything falls into place.
When we come back, we need to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of these different types of intelligences, and most importantly, how we can collaborate through the intelligences that we are given, that we're blessed with, to be able to do more of this successful things, working with others, sharing our gifts with others and having them share them with us. That's maybe the way that we can beat the paradox of intelligence, is by learning how to collaborate with the intelligences that we have. This is Stress-Free Living. Hopefully we will be reducing some of your stress here today on our show, and we are glad that you were with us. We'll be back in just a moment. I'd like to welcome all of our Zoom guests with us today. Thanks for being here. We're on a real short radio break, but if anybody would like to give us a comment or a thought or a question, you're welcome to do that. We have a minute or so. Open up your mic and say something. If you don't, that's okay too. We will do this again in about 20 more minutes, and you can open up and talk with us then. And then please feel free to stay with us after the show as well, when we don't have the time constraints. So Ratanjit, if we're not getting any other input, which is fine, I want to come back and just talk about the fact that collaboration doesn't require intelligence, basically. That's something that people can do at any level, right? And then let's get specific on the intelligence, on the different types that people could have that maybe they don't consider as valuable. Maybe we think if we don't have the high IQ that we don't have any intelligence at all. Monitor the station here. So we had a couple people join us during the show, if you saw. Amarit, is it? Am I saying that right? And Kim's back with us. Hello, Kim. She had her camera on for a minute.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Any
nice to see
I'm
your,
well. How about you?
Good. Nice to see your beautiful smiling face this morning.
My mom paid good money for that smile.
What's that?
I said my mom paid good money for that smile.
Oh, there you go. I understand. We did that for our kids, all of them. Yes. And they're so white.
Yeah, I think
Beautiful.
it's a very, I think it's a very intriguing conversation to appreciate the intelligence that you have, but to have respect and space for other people to be able to contribute and collaborate. So I love the conversation. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're back on Stress Free Living.
Oh.
So glad to be with all of you here today. And as you just heard a little bit of, we have conversations during our breaks with our Zoom callers. If you would like to be with us on a Zoom call basis, then you can find that link on our website, as well as on our Facebook page or on our YouTube page, where we do feature all of the shows every week that you can listen to on your own 24/7. So again, a whole lot of different ways that you can listen to us on the radio at 1330 or 101.5, or across the internet on wintradio.com and on a Zoom basis. And again, as a Zoom participant, we love to talk with you, see your faces, talk with you, interact during the breaks, as you just heard us doing. We're eavesdropping a little bit on our private conversation, Ratanjit. And you know what's so fun is that it really is global on a Zoom basis. Not today. Today they're from across the country, but we've had a lot of people join us from India and from England and other points across Canada, other points across the world. It's just fascinating, our technology. So to bring that back, Ratanjit, to our concept of intellect, it took IQ intelligence for someone to figure out the technical aspects of Zoom type calls. Okay. I mean, 5 years ago, even 5 years ago, it was unthinkable that you could be in real time and see the face of somebody around the globe, and instantaneously and basically for free at no cost, except for the basic cost of having internet, you could be talking to people around the world in real time. And now even putting this on the radio, okay, so people could hear this and go out across the internet on a whole lot of different vehicles. I mean, the idea of what we are able to accomplish with our IQ intelligence is incredible. And yet, obviously, it took a lot of collaboration for that thought process to become reality. It took a lot of people to make that happen. So you can have the stimulant, right, of the IQ, but it still takes a whole group of people to put that into practice.
Not only IQ, Ray, there are so many other different kind of intelligence which brought us this unique technology in different fields. So if your intelligence is not mathematically sharp, IQ not necessarily gives you mathematical intelligence. And some of these writers of software programs are maybe not very high Q people, but they have different kind of intelligence. But see, there is one thing we must realize. Today, more than ever, we have so much technology to make our life better, right?
Mm-hmm.
But still, the unhappiness is at the peak. Because what makes a human being happy is not necessarily convenience. It is belonging. If somebody cares about you, somebody loves you, somebody has feelings for you, somebody respects you, that is missing. So, in spite of tremendous progress our technology has made, now with artificial intelligence, we are going to replace so many jobs, so many things which we human beings performed. So there is a misdirection. See, the ultimate objective of all our research, all our science, all our technology was to improve the quality of human beings. And we misunderstood as quality just as comfort. So we have more things to buy. We have made our homes as collections of items rather than a home which is full of love and care. So until we go back to that understanding that our purpose, my purpose, is to make someone happier. And my ultimate joy comes from seeing a smile I bring in somebody else's face. Whether I do that through my skills or through my intelligence or do that through my simple caring and loving, it doesn't matter. I improve the quality of the person who I bring this smile on their face. So that intelligence, you call it intelligence or whatever you call it, is the ultimate intelligence. That my purpose of life is to serve others. Because when I serve, when I make someone else happier, it makes ultimately me happier. So my happiness is tied to bringing smile in somebody else's face.
So let's go back and let's talk about the different intelligences. And for those people that have heard a show or two in the past that we have done on that, this is just a refresher. But I'm sure there's many people that are new to this thought. And this is not something that I think is radically talked about, broadly talked about out there in society. Because I think most of us think of intelligence as only the IQ intelligence. And if I didn't have IQ intelligence, if I knew that I was just average or maybe even below average in my ability to calculate and my ability to come up with, exactly what I need to do in any given situation, then I think I'm not intelligent. And now I do feel inferior. And I don't think about anything else that I can do. I just think about what I can't do or what I don't have, which is a pure IQ intelligence. So let's talk about the other types of intelligences that you believe we are gifted with, we are born with.
See, before I go there was this very interesting study in school. They did IQ test.
Mm-hmm.
And then the student who had very high IQ, they put into one class, and the student who had low IQ put in another class. But when they disclosed that, they told the student with high IQ that they had low IQ.
Oh,
And student who had low IQ, they told them they have high IQ. And suddenly their grades, when they studied, their grade of the actual low IQ, who were told they have high IQ, improved. So this perception,
did the other ones go down?
they did.
They did. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's amazing. So there is something within us we don't realize that controls. See, if your inner confidence is given to you by somebody caring for you, you outperform the people who actually have high IQ. And then the measuring of IQ is defective, Ray, because it is how you are brought up, how you understand things. You are able to score better in IQ than if you are not brought up in the same manner, although your intelligence is higher, but you don't understand how to answer those questions. So that is a defective way of judging intelligence. Whereas in truth, we should look for uniqueness, which is present. It's not absence. It is always present in every living being. What is that uniqueness, unique gift we are born with? And nurture that gift and bring together a team with different talents, different gifts. You make a very powerful team. So the type of intelligence are so many. There are people who are inclined to understand nature better than others. There are people who naturally are good at mathematics. There are people who are good at literature. And there are people who have very good memory, who are able to comprehend and remember things better than others. So there is all kinds of gifts we are born with. We have to realize, we have to nurture those. But ultimately, Ray, it doesn't matter, because your inner desire to make a difference makes you a better human being. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, no, and you're absolutely right. I agree 100% with what you're saying. But I want to take a couple extra minutes and talk about the more different types of intelligences. You just gave 5 examples, but I want to talk more in detail about the different types, because I think this is a really important aspect for people to understand. And I don't want to gloss over it in any way at all, because I know there are people that are watching or listening that still feel, okay, I didn't match up to anything that Ratanjit just said. I'm not good at mathematics. I'm not good at, and I can't even remember what you just said, but I'm not good, at these 2 or 3 things. I don't have that high IQ. So I still don't connect with you on this. I don't think that I still have an intelligence in any particular area. So I want to talk even more examples of this, because it really breaks down on a very minute basis. I mean, there's just certain gifts that when we're 10, 20, 30, 40 years old, as we get older, we just realize, wow, that is something I guess other people don't do or don't have. And I realize that I do. I have this ability to talk in this way, or to think in this way, or to perform this task in this way. And as I get older, we realize that this is not the norm. This is not what everybody else can do. it's just a matter of us figuring out what that is, right? I mean, kind of being aware of what we can do and how we can fit into society and realize what the special intelligence is that we were given.
And not only that, Ray, of course, we can, if we are only basing our life on discovering that intelligence, and I say, gosh, I don't know what my intelligence is, and nobody can tell me that.
Right.
So if we are waiting for discovering that intelligence, that is not the end all. I had a close friend, and growing up, he wanted to learn music, although he did not have any musical talent. So whenever he went to study music, the music teacher said, look, you don't have it in you. You don't understand music. And he took it personally. He says, I'm going to show everyone. And he practiced and studied and everything himself. And now he is a great musician, Ray. Although, according to the world, he did not have the musical intelligence. But you can teach yourself some of these intelligence. You can teach yourself, but if you have a passion for something, a purpose in life for doing something, then it drives you to get there. So the real purpose is to make a difference. Now, one purpose is to show the world that I am better. That also drives you.
Mhm.
But that can only go so far, because ultimately it has to be tied with a bigger purpose, which is touching your soul. See, our mind validates certain things, and then your heart validates certain things. Until a thing which is validated by both your mind and heart, it does not translate into a passion. So the mind and heart has to desire to do the same thing. So the heart will never lie. Mind will always lie, because mind gathers data based on the data gathered. Somebody has told you, you remember that your truth is different than the reality. But ultimately, the inside of you always knows the truth. What makes you feel deep inside about something, about doing something, that is where your true passion lies. And that true passion is not in a subject, Ray, not in a technology, not in any kind of art. That true passion ultimately ties into connecting to another heart. And that connecting to other heart comes from making a difference to others. And yes, to do that, you may require some skills. Yes, to do that, you may have to unveil some of the uniqueness gifted to you. But ultimately, that is the purpose. Doesn't matter whether you serve somebody as a doctor, or you serve somebody in the restaurant, or you serve somebody just to listen to their story or help them as a friend. It is the same purpose. So if doctor understands their purpose is to serve that human being, that doctor becomes a better doctor. A doctor who is top their university, gold medalist, and the most intelligent, most revered, end up failing to serve their customers if they don't have the compassion, if they don't have a relationship from heart to heart. So ultimately, I place this intelligence of connecting your heart with others is the highest intelligence, and we all have it. Nobody has to relearn this. This is all gifted to all of us because our joy, our personal sanity is part in that. It comes from that.
We are talking today about the paradox of intelligence and really kind of examining what is intelligence, what it means to have it, and what we are supposed to do with the various intelligences that we may be blessed with. And we're going to examine this a little bit further and again, maybe give us some how-to steps on how we can take this knowledge, maybe new knowledge that we're being exposed with today, and what we can do with that for the rest of our lives. This is Stress-Free Living. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are again on a short break, and I apologize to Kim there. Kim, I didn't know how to shut you down, and I didn't want to shut you down there before we went to the last break. So, but when I hear the music play, we have to go on.
No worries.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good to have you with us. And if you have another thought, or if Ravi, we lost somebody else. We had someone else and they're gone now. But Ravi, if you have anything, you're welcome to share. Or Kim. All right, we have one more brief segment here. And then you're both welcome to stay with us afterwards if you'd like to. Okay.
I've been sharing the link with my millennials who like to sleep in.
Oh, okay.
But I do share with them. So I appreciate you guys sending the text reminder. It's very helpful.
Good. And I will be posting. I have to post last week's show too. I was very tied up this week, did some traveling. But I'll put this show and the last show on YouTube. Stress-Free Living Radio, it's called, on the YouTube channel. And they can catch all the shows on there when they're awake on their schedule.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we just have a couple seconds left here.
You have to unmute somebody's.
Welcome back to Stress-Free Living. Ray Samich with you, along with Ratanjit and Ray. And we have a number of our Zoom guests that are with us here today that are listening. Again, if you'd like to be a part of that in the future, we invite you to, or however you are listening to us on radio or stream, or perhaps after the fact on YouTube or on a podcast, however it is nowadays through the amazing technology that we are blessed to share with all of you. Ratanjit, last segment here, last few minutes to discuss things with you. And I want to point out again, two really important things that the two, I think, most important things that I'm taking away today is the ability and the necessity to collaborate with others and to have that as whether you call it an intelligence that we all have or just some kind of action that we want to strive for, is that we want to be inclusive. We want to be able to share our ideas and our gifts with others, and to look for the gifts in others that we can collaborate with. And, you mentioned the word segregation, and most often we think of segregation by race or by religious beliefs or those thoughts. And obviously with the real us, where those things don't matter, and it's totally irrelevant what you look like or what you have other characteristics of you. It just matters of saying, if we're trying to build a better world, then let's look for the gifts in others that will match with our gifts and be able to make a better world. And it doesn't matter if you're young, old, black, white, male or female, or any other combination of your orientation. if we've got gifts that we can collaborate with together, then I want to work with you, and I want to help you to use your gifts, and I want you to help me use my gifts. So that is such an important point that you've broken down today that I think is a real takeaway. The other one, though, is you're talking about empathizing, the ability to show empathy to those. And that's an intelligence to me that is even more important than the first one. Because while collaboration can benefit the whole world, and that's wonderful, the empathy is maybe what is needed for one person that will change their life, that will prevent somebody from being depressed and despondent and perhaps even committing suicide and or something that extreme. To take a child and to give them a moment of empathy when they most need it, that can allow them to flourish for the next 80 years because of what you did in that moment of discouragement and depression. And, I think the ability to empathize with others and feel their pain and connect with them to give them what they need is the best intelligence that we can have as a human being. Just your thoughts on those two powerful things that you have shared with us today.
Well, see, for empathy, we are looking for, if you come across somebody and realize that that person you saw as a childhood has grown up, but he's actually your nephew. He belongs to your family. You certainly have some special feeling for that person, right? We are looking for something which belongs to you. We either look for a race or a color or family union or common skills or common job. So we are looking for commonality to establish some kind of a closeness, some friendship. And we empathize more with our friends, with our family, right?
Right.
Now, the thing is that we have always been, because we have been asked to be more confident, be better than everybody else. So unknowingly or knowingly, we have been looking for differences. I am better because I'm good, better looking. My father is a bigger person. I am a better educated. I have better IQ. I belong to better society. So I'm looking for a reason to differentiate and better than others. We are not looking to find what is really one, which is common with everyone else. That commonality, once we find and understand, it removes all our differences. Then we see things unique present in others, and we begin to respect that. Because when we see a sibling, either I'm competing with the sibling or I'm loving the difference in the sibling. So the thing which is common in all of us is the power that enlivens us. That power is the same, exactly the same, which brings life in you or life in me. So when we begin to look at others as that power, rather than their color, their gender, their age, their race, their qualification and all that, we see that commonality. And then automatically, I have a desire to listen to them. I have a desire to serve them. Empathy automatically falls into place. All the differences they have in their education, their skill, or their intelligence is only a something which is unique they bring to the table. I begin to respect that rather than compete with that. So if your founding principle which unites you is the truth that we are all single universal power which enlivens everyone, and we see that power in each one of us rather than the differences we see, our mind has been trained to see the differences. So our whole life begins to fall into place. I have a greater incentive. Right now, I'm looking for blood relations. I'm looking for commonality, but I'm not understanding that my true relationship is with the force which enlivens everyone. And with that realization, I am part in serving unconditionally. I am part in loving unconditionally. I am part in utilizing my talents unconditionally. I am part in learning more to add value to others unconditionally. I'm basically motivated to serve everyone, and my joy and pleasure come from that aspect.
So about an hour ago, you opened up with the paradox of intelligence, the name of the show today. And you started with a paradox that said many people who are highly intelligent don't use that intelligence properly because of their ego, because of whatever other restraints. And some of those people that should be accomplishing the most and are blessed with the highest IQ intelligence are lonely and not successful and not utilizing their skills. And that there's a paradox that said maybe we're better off without IQ intelligence than with it, because we can do more without the burden of ego and without the restrictions that puts on us. But we've evolved here now. I think you just ended up with another paradox, a different paradox. And that is that the most important thing that we can do is realize that intelligence doesn't matter at all, that the commonality of where we come from, and I don't mean come from in terms of India or United States, I mean where we come from is this connection with the divine and sharing this light power source is the most important aspect of life, to realize that we all connect on this commonality, irrelevant of any intelligence.
Yes.
So we have to establish that understanding, but then using our unique intelligences to connect on a human basis, to collaborate our skill sets, and to be able to empathize with each other based on what we can do and how we can succeed in life. Isn't that another paradox of intelligence, that you don't need intelligence at all to realize that we're all the same, we're all from the same?
See, if you created a need of serving, so a mother, when she becomes a mother, is not as willing to sacrifice, not willing to discover all the talents. But once she becomes a mother, she utilizes everything surrounding us to help the child, to love the child. So once we realize that I am the power which enlivens me, all my intelligence within me and surrounding me, I collect them to serve that one.
Okay. So many of us think it's the first and foremost part of our life, and really it's just the tool. Intelligence is just the tool to be able to accomplish what we need to do in order to serve others.
Whether it comes through you or your knowledge or your learning, or it is surrounded by people around you.
That we connect to. Yeah.
You become when you orchestra, when you become the master playing the orchestra. You don't play all the instruments. You combine them.
Ratanjit, we have to go. We're out of time. Thank you, as always, for sharing your love, your wisdom, your brilliance, your understanding of life with all of us. Thank you. And thank you to our audience, our Zoom, and every audience everywhere. We appreciate you being with us. As always, remember, we're all playing the same game. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you.